When that spark, that intimacy in a relationship starts to fade, it can be really confusing. And it feels deeply personal, right? You're probably wondering what's changed, and more importantly, what can I do about it? Well, today we're going to dive deep into some fascinating source material to decode the complex reasons behind a man's low libido and hopefully map out a path toward getting that connection back. And this quote, it really nails what this is all about. It's about a huge shift in perspective. It's about moving from feeling like you're just watching this problem happen to actually becoming the architect of the solution. It's about empowering you with real understanding to actively help rebuild that intimacy. So let's get into it. First up, we've got to look inside. We need to explore that incredibly powerful link between his mental state and his physical health. Because you see, a man's desire isn't just some on-off switch. It is a direct reflection of what's going on in his internal world. Just think about it for a second. When he is just totally consumed by stress from work, financial worries, or just pure exhaustion, his body basically goes on lockdown. His entire system shifts into what's called survival mode. It's focusing all its energy on just getting through the day. And when that happens, intimacy and desire are pretty much the first things to get thrown overboard. What's so interesting here is how this shows you the huge mental jump he has to make. You can't just flip from that stressed out, drained survival mind right into the connected and present sensory mind. It's just too big a leap. The idea here is that you can become the bridge. You can use simple things like a soft touch or a calm evening ritual to gently guide him from one state of mind to the other. Okay, so let's switch gears from the mind to the body. The source material points to a surprisingly simple physical sign that could signal a much deeper hormonal issue. It's called the waistline diagnostic. And this is the number you want to remember, 94 centimeters, which is about 37 inches. According to the research, once a man's waistline goes past this point, it can often be one of the very first signs that his testosterone levels might be starting to decline. And here's the crucial point. This is not just about his weight. Not at all. A larger waistline can be a symptom of a whole hormonal cascade. We're talking about a potential drop in testosterone, which can then lead to things like increased anxiety, less motivation, and even a loss of that competitive fire, that victory drive. It's all connected. All right, and next up, let's talk about the act of intimacy itself, and specifically how past experiences and even just old routines can build up these invisible walls that really get in the way of desire. This one is huge, and it's all in his head, but man, is it powerful. The source material explains that just one single time where he couldn't perform can create this deep-seated fear. He creates what's called a ghost of past failures. And to avoid the chance of feeling that humiliation again, he might start to subconsciously pull away from intimacy altogether. So, how do you fight a ghost? Well, you do it by becoming his safe harbor. This is where you can play such an important role. It's about being a trustworthy partner who understands what's going on. It's about reassuring him that a lapse is just a sign of being tired or stressed, not some huge catastrophe. When you focus on connection instead of performance, you take the pressure off, and that's what allows his confidence to come back. Oh, I absolutely love this analogy. It perfectly captures this idea of the habituation trap, which is really just a fancy term for sexual boredom. I mean, think about it. Even the best thing in the world can get a little dull if it's the exact same thing every single time. And in long-term relationships, a predictable, repetitive routine can slowly put out that fire. So how do you break out of that rut? Well, this slide lays out a brilliant strategy called a pattern interrupt. Step 1 is all about reclaiming his attention, doing something different to snap him out of that old routine. Then step 2 is about building new excitement with other techniques. And only then, as step 3, do you gradually bring back what used to be the main event. It's a clear roadmap to making things feel new and exciting again. Okay, let's pull back the camera for a second and look at the big picture, the emotional climate of your relationship. Because desire doesn't just exist on its own. It either thrives or it withers based on the overall atmosphere you've built together. The source highlights something really important here. Many men carry this profound fear of being rejected, and a lot of times it goes way back to their youth. So if his attempts to initiate sex are frequently turned down, even for totally valid reasons, headaches, exhaustion, eventually he might just stop asking. It becomes a way to protect himself from feeling that sting of rejection. And you can see how this can quickly turn into a downward spiral. It starts with an emotion. He feels rejected. That feeling turns into fear, which makes him stop trying. And here's where it gets biological. That lack of sexual success can actually cause his testosterone to drop. And from there, to get a sense of validation without the risk, his energy might get diverted to an easier outlet. And look, if that easier outlet does happen to involve another person, the advice here is don't panic. Instead, it's a moment to get strategic. The key question isn't just about what happened, but about the vacuum in your relationship that created the space for it to happen in the first place. Understanding what needs weren't being met is the first real step to drawing him back. Okay, so we've covered a lot, right? We've looked at his mind, his body, those hurdles from the past, and the relationship itself. With all this insight, how do you actually take that architect idea from the beginning and put it into action? So we're going to end on this really powerful, provocative question. It reframes this whole thing not as some impossible problem, but as a design challenge. Ask yourself, would I be willing to design a nervous system reset for my partner? Could you create one specific pressure-free experience of pure relaxation and connection just to see how he responds? It's about starting fresh and building from a brand new foundation. A really powerful idea to think about.
You can find the electronic version of book She Who Awakens by Alina Chamberlain at wishforlove.org.